Hello and welcome back to Chaos Head Noah. My name is Maybe Dennis, and last time we started the episode with Takumi talking to Grim about the stuff that Sena Aoi told him about, which actually ended up a lot of it being factually supported by patents and whatnot that he found online. So he ends up finding out that Sena Aoi is not as delusional as he thought she was. And after that, we saw Yua send an email to Takumi about, speaking with him again. After, saying no and just going to the PC cafe, room 37, and trying to hide away from Yua, she finds him. She knocks on his door. He's like, no, you're going to tell me what you know. I hope you stop killing people because you're Shogun and whatnot. And he just runs. He leaves. And there's like a little wild goose chase where Yua's just, chasing after Takumi and the police get involved. And then Takumi ends up being saved by Fez, where she leads him into an underground passage and she explains to him about the D sword. And at the same time, the cops seem to be having some kind of thing about like GE rates and like gravitational error or something, which also kind of relates to the D sword stuff, which is kind of weird, but it was overall pretty interesting. And we just got back home after that crazy occurrence. So now let's see what else is waiting for us at the base. It felt like a long time since I've been back to base. In fact, though, it only been gone about 12 hours. The PC was still on, and my Seraton screensaver was smiling in the dark room. I made sure to carefully lock the door from the inside, and then threw myself on the sofa. When my eyes closed, all the things that happened to me today came flooding back. I couldn't believe the cops thought I was a killer. They were totally wrong. There was no way I could kill anybody, right? Do your jobs, damn it. This isn't a game. Maybe it is. I bet they were just coming after me because I was a creepy otaku. Otaku had low social status. Nobody would have complained if one was made out to be the killer. They weren't making any progress finding the real killer, so they wanted to make me out to be a scapegoat. Damn it, how was I supposed to clear my name? The events at Cafe came back to me, and I shivered. There was somebody even scarier than the police out there. Yua was my enemy. I let my guard down because I hadn't seen her in a while. I thought that she was just going to leave me alone. But today I realized my mistake. I needed the D-sword to fight these people. I looked over at the cheap sword next to my computer. It was a fake. According to ISA, only those with power could see a real one. But Nami had been able to see mine on the day I bought it. And unlike ISA and Senna, my sword didn't glow. Where was the real sword? I need it soon as I can get it. Otherwise, I was doomed. I was so sick of all this awful stuff that kept happening to me.
あなたは DID 多重人格なんです。
No, that's not true. It's impossible. They say that multiple personality disorder is really rare in Japan, don't they? You just saw too many movies and read too many novels. I didn't have multiple personalities. There's no evidence anywhere. Okay, there might be a little evidence, but that doesn't count. But it would explain that chat log. But there's no evidence that didn't have multiple personalities either. But then, Dr. Takashina vanished right after that, for no good reason. But I wasn't sure who I was. Suddenly, I felt a prickling on the back of my neck. The same as always, someone's gaze watching me. Whose eyes are those?
そうだ、将軍だ。あいつが犯人だ。チャットログにもそう書いてあったじゃないか。ユアは将軍の手下だし、ニュージェネ事件だって全部将軍が。
But did Shogun even really exist? How did I know that he wasn't just a delusion?
僕はまともだ。まともなんだ。そうでしょ。
Nope. I held my head in my hands and screamed out to an empty room. An answer came from...
メールだよ。ボケなす。
You got mail. Dork. Is it Sarah? I slowly walked over to my PC and opened the email. It was from Grim. The subject was, found something cool. It was probably more Guru or something, some mental browser crash image. I didn't have the time to deal with his trolling, but I decided to at least read it. Subject, found something cool. Sender, Grim. Nightheart, how come you're not in chat? You're not playing ESO either. I couldn't find you, so I had to send you an email, lol. The link is some YouTube link. This video is totally nuts, you gotta see it. I knew you probably think I'm just trolling you, but it's got the new gen killer in it. Everybody's online's talking about it, so you gotta watch it or you'll be left out, lol. Oh, it also has a she-no thing on the bottom, which is the emoji. A video of a new gen murder taken by the killer? My fingers were shaking on the top of the mouse. I couldn't take my eyes off the text. Did it show who the killer was? Who was it? Was it me? Part of me wanted to see it, and part of me firmly resisted. This would be proof. Proof I wasn't the killer. Or maybe, proof that I was. I didn't know which it would be. It was like gambling in a way. I felt my heart begin to race as I moved my mouse cursor over the link. But I couldn't work up the courage to click it.
私、あなたを助けたい。
Shut up! Don't treat me like I'm the killer. Don't try to have sympathy for me. I didn't do it. You're the one who's working for the killer. Anger boiling within me, I click on the link. Let's see. Group dive. And I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. Alright. It opened up YouTube page. The video's window reading loading.
僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない僕じゃない
Boku janai. The video only took 10 seconds to load, but to me, those 10 seconds felt like an eternity. Eventually, the loading screen ended and the video began to play. Uh-oh. It was showing someplace very dark. Oh, that's a group dive killing. Man, they have some looping laugh sound bites. The background was totally black. It was indoors somewhere, maybe? No, what are you looking at? That's clearly not indoors. I brought my face close up to the monitor to see if I could make out any details. Is there going to be a jump scare? It was dark and hard to tell, but they seemed to be several boys and girls there. They're all talking really loudly. Maybe it was the low audio bitrate of the video, or maybe it was that they were all so excited, but I couldn't make out what they were saying at all. Sometimes, they would scream violently, and static from the low-quality mic would be awful. After watching for a while, I could tell that there were 5 people there, 6 if you include the cameraman. The cameraman was carefully staying out of frame. It was hard to make out the faces of the others in the darkness, too. They seemed to be cheering each other, rubbing each other's foreheads, giving out friendly pats on the back and hugs. Aww. I wonder what this could be. So, we can't see the killer, but I wonder if maybe we'll see the killer's hand or something in the video, since it's like first person. And my theory at the moment, not theory, but my just throwaway guess is, what if we see the bangle that he gave to his sister? I don't think that would happen. I really don't. But like, this game is fucking around with my mind so much I can't tell what's real or fake. The girl seemed to be crying with joy in loud voices too. It was a strange scene, sure, but what did it have to do with New Gen? Was it really the New Gen killer who was filming this? If nothing else, I didn't remember doing it. Uh-oh. Jump scare! Jump scare! After a short while, the person holding the camera slowly began to move forward. The 5 people in the shot, originally about 5 meters away, began to loom larger in the frame. The video's resolution was very low. Maybe they dropped the bitrate down as low as it could possibly go during the encoding to keep the file size as low as possible. Cameras these days all had night mode on them. Why wasn't the cameraman using it? Maybe it was an old camera. Suddenly, the camera panned from left to right, showing the surrounding area. What I thought was a black background was actually the night sky. This video was being filmed outside. The reason I hadn't seen any buildings was because they were on top of a skyscraper. The 5 boys and girls were standing right on the edge of a tall skyscraper. Behind them was a sheer drop. You could see the lights of the Shibuya spreading out from below. Finally, I understood. I knew that what this footage meant. I knew why Grimm's had said that the New Gen killer had to have taken it. Oh god, it's almost like it said it in the title. The case where 5 boys and girls had jumped off the locked roof of Cornelius Tower. The one New Gen case where they weren't sure if it was a suicide or a murder. If this video showed 5 who died in a jump, then that would mean a 6th person was there when it happened. I've been wrong about what they were doing. They were all crouching on the ground, clinging together, and crying. They all seemed to know that they were about to die, and they couldn't accept it. One was shaking their head no over and over, one on their knees, sobbing and ripping at their hair. One was screaming at the cameraman, demanding to know why they were doing this. One had already gone crazy and was crying while they laughed. What I saw was a violent desire for life, and a powerful wish not to die. Yeah, you know, it couldn't really make out the noise, but it sounded like laughter, but laughter is like one step away from sounding like crying, so it's really hard to tell. The helpless fury at the unfair situation they were in. But what was strange was, the cameraman's voice wasn't in the video at all. The person recording the video was almost eerily calm.
Yamero. Yamero!
The video was close to a month old. Nothing I said now could change it. I knew this was meaningless, but I still couldn't help but scream at the monitor.
こいつらみんな死にたくなんかないんだぞ
But of course, my words went unheard, and the person holding the camera kept walking towards the five of them. I wonder if they're like interlinked together and they just pushed one person off so they'll all fall off. They began to crawl away from the camera in fear, but it didn't matter. Oh, I heard a tasket. The edge of the heliport was right behind them. There wasn't any kind of safety fence. There was nowhere to run for the five of them. Another step back and they'd fall. The camera slowly kept going forward, as if taunting them, oblivious to their cries. But even as it got close, whoever was holding it did nothing but move forward. Then suddenly, all five fell silent. They didn't make any motion towards each other, and nothing happened to cause it, but they all fell silent at the exact same moment. They stood up. The wind on the top of Cornelius' tower was strong. It threatened to knock them over. If they slipped, they'd fall. And then, they all took each other's hands, as if in resignation. Their hands clasped tightly with one another's.
よせ。やめろ。謝るな。
Silence. Even the sound of blowing wind felt like it had stopped. The only thing I could hear was the sound of the cars traveling on the highway below the skyscraper. The cameraman still didn't do a thing. And then, one of the five, ever so softly, whispered.
その目誰の目?
I froze in the front of the monitor, as if a cold hand had reached into my chest and grabbed my heart.
なんでまたその言葉なんだよ
It keeps coming back. This was the first of the new gen case, right? Why had this boy suddenly said, "Whose eyes are those?" That was the dying message in the fourth case, the vampire incident. This made no sense. The video continued, oblivious to my screams. The five of them slowly stepped off the edge, as if there was a path waiting for them there, and then they fell off, into the darkness of the city sky. So they weren't pushed, they just were made to think that they could... I don't even know if they thought they were going to die. I think they might have been mind controlled or something. I bit my lip and covered my eyes. Group dive wasn't a suicide. This was murder. The killer was right there when it happened. And who was a cameraman? I knew the answer. Muffled by the strong winds on the roof. Hidden by the sounds of the screaming and crying. And between the bursts of car horns from the highway below, there was another sound that I could barely hear. It was... the sound of creaking metal. Oh... It's a wheelchair. A sound that I only heard when the cameraman moved forward. The sound of a wheelchair.
あの時、僕の前に現れたのは、現実だったんだね。カメラの目線が低すぎだよ。将軍。
The plot thickens. I'm still oh, what? Chapter 5, Delusions. I didn't get my answers about the D-swords. The news about the leaked video of the group dive quickly became a huge deal, of course. The net was, like Grim said, in an uproar. A lot of people on 8chan were saying that this proved that all 4 new gen murders were committed by the same person. Alright, let's see. Alright, so first let's look at the new tip. What? Cry? Is that cry? No, okay, Japanese net slang meaning etc. Okay, that just looked like a cry for me. The killer has got to be the whose eyes are those. The guy who upped the video to YouTube has to be a killer, right? Totally whose eyes are... Okay, I'll call the cops. Whose eyes are those? The whose eyes message showed up at the vampire crime scene too. Now there's a connection between the first and the last new gen murders. People have been saying that there was no connection at all, but I guess they were wrong. So then, the pregnant man and the crucified are also... Oh shit, this is so exciting. Yeah, whose eye are those? And since the vampire case was the first time we saw whose eyes, that means that the killer can't be somebody who saw the group dive and tried to copy it. They had to be the same guy. Hey, don't look at me, lol. Whose eyes are those? I saw a video and it looked like fake bullshit to me. Don't look at me, lol. I bet one Perica that's some theater group trying to make a name for themselves. Don't say whose eyes, guys. You're just egging the killer on. So this means that all the new gen murders were the same guy, right? Whose eyes are those? Maybe the other side of the ledge only drops down 2 meters, and there's like a mat or something under it, lol. Agreed. As long as that phrase is popular, we're gonna keep seeing more murders. Cut the hell out. It's not funny anymore. Whose eyes? I live in Shibuya. Sob lol lol. Don't look at me. It's the most viewed Mewtwo video. Lol lol lol. Don't look at me lol. It's a top article on MHK News. KTKR. Has Whose Eyes claimed responsibility yet? The TV news was just as excited. 140 was right. All the non-government run TV stations except for the TVTKs had done specials on it, and they were even showing the video nonstop. Who's 140? We didn't see 140. Here we have up to 139. Unless I'm mistaken. Well. None of the specials were longer than an hour, but the fact that the video was broadcast all over the country was shocking. Of course, all the stations cut the last part where they actually jumped, but the effects they had was incredible. The TV commentators were saying that more or less the same thing as the internet, that all 4 of the new gen cases were works of the same killer. It was inevitable that they'd say that at least... Oh man, I really hate the text over the text. At least the new gen cases had something in common. Whose eyes are those? The phrase was so popular in Shibuya right now. It had originally been thought that those words only appeared during the 4th incident, the vampire case. But one of the victims of the group dive said the phrase as well, despite it taking place over a month before Vampire. Now, out of the 4 murders, it had appeared in 2, the first and the most recent one, which meant it was probably the same person responsible for all 4. The police had an emergency press conference to announce that they were doing everything they could to find the uploader of the video. A few politicians issued statements expressing their anger and sorrow and demanding that the killer be caught immediately. I mean, the politicians are just saying that so they can get cred, probably. The video was deleted by YouTube administrators less than 3 hours after upload, but it was too late. @channelers everywhere had downloaded it already, and nobody could stop it from being spread now. And then, late at night, the police made their next announcement. Wonder what it is. The video of the group dive incident was uploaded from a manga cafe named @cafe, specifically the PC in room 37. Oh. That multiple personalities is seeing a little bit more plausible, isn't it? I sat in my seat and leaned forward, my head pressed against my arms. I've been listening into conversations around me without even realizing I was doing so. Today, I was feeling really sensitive towards other people's voices. After listening to a few conversations, I realized that everyone was talking about the group dive, just like I thought they would be. Some of the girls were even saying, "Whose eyes are those?" as a joke. I bit my lip and stared down at my desk. Oh right, I kind of forgot. That message was written on the board before the 4th murder. So that means someone in this class is related. So it's very possible that Misumi or Rimi might be related to the murder. That video was proof. Proof that Shogun was real. Proof that I wasn't the killer. Or, it could be, main character Takumi, who is also Shogun, kind of. So I didn't have multiple personalities. The old man in the wheelchair was a new gen killer. But why had Shogun uploaded the video? Nobody had any clues to identify the killer. Why would he reveal himself now? I thought about it and come to two possible conclusions. The first was that Shogun may have just wanted attention and recognition for his crimes. Given how he'd shown himself to me, that seemed likely. The other was as a challenge to me. For some reason, Shogun and his servant Yua were after me. I didn't know why, but they'd almost succeeded in making me out to be the new gen killer. The police might still suspect me. Shogun was trying to trap me even now.
僕のメッセージは受け取ってくれた？目覚めるんだ。早く。
Wake up soon. I mean, judging from his voice, he doesn't sound evil. I mean, you can't really judge someone's voice about... You can't judge if they're evil based off their voice. Sometimes you can, but in this case, I feel like it's not really applicable.
出ないと、もっとたくさんの人が死んじゃうことになるから。
I mean, Shogun seems like he's trying to prevent something. So I don't know.
君は逃げちゃいけない。
That's what the Shogun I'd seen had said. As near as I could tell, what he meant to say was, I'm going to kill you, so don't run away. It was a threat. And now he uploaded a video for all of Japan to see. He was escalating things. He must have moved to the next stage of his plan. But it would be naive to think that this meant that he was giving up on me. I should have assumed that his attacks and plots were only going to get worse. I was scared. That video was terrifying. Shogun was weaker and frailer than even I was, but he killed 5 teenagers without even laying a finger on them. If he was behind all of the new gen killings, that would mean that the pregnant man, crucified, and vampire were all done by his hand, despite his tiny, frail body. Or maybe Yua had helped. Either way, I didn't have any hope of protecting myself from the people who could do something like that. I felt anger at being chosen as their target so arbitrarily, but I also felt afraid of them, and then, whose eyes are those? There was that message too. Whenever I let my guard down for a moment, my body started to shiver. I had to stay tense at all times if I was going to keep myself from losing control. I kept a close eyes on my surroundings and made sure I was ready to run if somebody approached. Shogun, or maybe Yua, could appear at any moment. It was entirely possible that Shogun had more servants than just Yua, after all. Maybe some of my classmates, the kids who were laughing and chatting around me right now, were under his influence too. I just had to avoid being caught off guard, like I was at Cafe yesterday. Otherwise, this time, I'd be killed. I need to find that D-sword. If I want to get out of this alive, I need that D-sword. I kind of forgot what the title of this chapter was. I mean, Shogun and D-sword really stood out to me, but I kind of forgot what this one was already. Whoops. After talking to Ayase and Senna, and looking at the internet, I was getting more and more sure of it. If I could get this D-sword, I'd be saved. While I was watching things unfold on the internet last night, I'd also been doing everything I could to find information on the D-sword. I got nowhere. I moved my hands up to my head and tore at my greasy hair. How the hell was I supposed to get a D-sword?
見つけなくちゃいけない。自分自身で。方法なんて私にはわからないわ。
That's what Ayase said, but I didn't even have a hint as to where to start. It wasn't fair. I was getting more and more scared and I wasn't making any progress. The fear was crushing me. I had to find it. I had to find the D-sword fast. I need the D-sword, no matter what. Gotta find it. Gotta find it, or it's over. I have to find it before I become the victim of the next new gen case. But find it how? I don't even know where to start. There has to be a hint, some kind of hint. If I don't hurry, I'd lose my chance. Can I find it? I didn't have time to be here at school. My life and graduating school, there was no question which one was more important. So why was I... Then I heard somebody getting close to my seat. I tensed up, jerking my head upwards.
びっくりした。
It was Rimi. She was standing there, blinking in surprise at my sudden movement. You're the one that surprised me. Don't scare me like that. I relaxed, sighed, and dropped my head back onto the desk.
タク、大丈夫？
No. She peered over me like she always did. I quickly looked away.
顔、真っ青だよ。汗もすごいし、目も血走っちゃってる。
Was Rimi on my side, or was she my enemy? After she saved me once, I was a lot less cautious around her. But that meant that I was also just ignoring all the things that made me suspect of her in the first place. Why did I see her covered in blood during the crucified murder? If she and I were friends since my first year of school, why didn't I remember it?
タク、体調悪いの？
Rimi looked a little concerned.
なんでもない。
I turned my head away from her. There was no way I could ask her any of these questions to her face. When the day's classes finally ended, I was mentally exhausted. Even during class, I've been ignoring the lecture and constantly keeping an eye on my surroundings. I hadn't slept since yesterday, but I felt so tense that I was actually more alert than usual. The school day seemed to drag on for an eternity, and the longer it went, the more miserable I felt. Why did time seem to pass so much slower or faster depending on your mental state? They say that time flows at the same rate for everybody, but there's no way that's true. Time is subjective. If you ask me, the things like hours and minutes were just somebody's secret conspiracy to hide that subjectivity, to make everyone think that it was the same. And if time's flow was subjective, didn't that imply that you could control it too? I only thought that because of what Senna had said about controlling other people's wills. That didn't imply...
生まれながらに目が不自由な人でも目の前にある景色がちゃんと見えるようになる。ビデオカメラのような映像機器を介してな。
If you could take the image recorded by a video camera, turn it into electrical pulses, and then send it into the brain in a way that could be understood, didn't that imply that you could also take the images in the mind and turn them into electrical signals too, then send them to make some kind of device to be turned into a video? There's no need for the signals to be coming from a video camera anyway. For example, if you hooked up a hard drive with a recording of the travel program... What if you hooked up a hard drive with a recording of a travel program? Or what if it wasn't a travel program, but an anime? An anime is just a delusion. It's 2D. But somebody born blind would never have seen 3D images. If you told them this is what the world looked like, would they believe that the 2D world is real? Wouldn't that mean, from their perspective, that a delusion was real? For example, let's say that somebody we'll call A has an image in their brain. You can send it to a hard drive and then turn it into a video and then broadcast it into B's brain. Then A's delusion would become B's reality. Their delusion would become real. It would be theoretically possible, right? Wow, lol, I'm a genius, lol! I became incredibly excited about my own idea. Maybe this was the key to getting a D-sword. Ase had said that a D-sword was a delusion after all. Okay, time to head home and look it up online. I don't know if they'll have that information online, dude. Oh, this is slightly different. You can actually see, like, the sun kind of going down, the sky is purple. It's kind of nice. After that, I leapt up, bag in hand and ready to go. But the girl was standing at the door, looking at me. I screamed. Half of my classmates were still in that room. I could feel them staring at me coldly. Stop! Run away. Don't look at me. Run away. Please don't look at me. Run! Panicking, I knocked aside my classmates and headed out the other door, the one opposite from where you was standing. I ran until I made it to the courtyard where I was suddenly overtaken by the urge to vomit. I tried to hold it in, but it was useless. I dropped to my knees and threw up. Ugh. I'm glad they didn't show it to us. Stomach acid stung my throat. My eyes were blurry. It was hard to breathe. There was a disgusting taste left in my mouth from the vomit. I guess I was under a lot more stress than I thought I was. Maybe it was because I'd been up all night. I wiped the edges of my mouth as I looked around frantically. Nobody was there. but the blind spots and shadows that I normally ignored now seemed terrifying to me. I started to think that Yua and Shogun could be lurking anywhere. And once the idea was in my head, I couldn't take another step. Somebody, help me. I want to cry, and the urge to vomit came back too. I mean, he wants someone to help him, but he doesn't trust anyone that wants to help him. This time I didn't throw up, but I coughed and gasped for air. It hurt so much that even more tears came. Then I felt a soft hand rubbing my back. I turned around, afraid. It's by Rimi. Yep,
大丈夫
Rimi was there.
大丈夫だよ
She wasn't asking me. She was gently telling me.
私はタクの味方だから
She showed no sign of disgust at the smell of my vomit, or the way my face was covered in snot and tears, with dried remains of my stomach contents crustling the corners of my mouth. She had a gentle smile on her face, as if she was trying to make me feel better. She came up to me and rubbed my back gently. Why? When I'd wanted somebody to save me before, she appeared then too, like a superhero coming to save the day. Why was it that having her around me made me feel so much safer? Why did I feel so much better? Next thing I knew, I was spilling my gut out to her, even though I hated talking about myself.
助けて。一人は怖いんだ。
Maybe that's why I come to school today. Until now, I always thought that I was better off alone. Of course, I was still afraid of talking to anybody. I didn't think that I had any hope of being friends with them. But after everything that I was going through with Yua and Shogun, I felt so scared and lonely. I want somebody to be by my side. I didn't even need them to be nice to me, I just needed them to be there.
一人は怖い。
だったら私が一緒にいてあげる
In her words, there was no malice, no hesitation.
さすがに24時間ずっとは無理だけど
She smiled and suddenly looked up at the sky. What was she looking at? It felt like she was staring at something far off in the distance.
朝一緒に学校行って学校では休み時間にどうでもいいこと話してお昼休みは一緒にご飯食べて夕方一緒に帰って帰るついでにたまにどこかのお店に寄ったりしてタックの部屋でちょっとだけおしゃべりしてそれでまた明日ねって手を振って別れてそんなのでいいなら私いくらでもしてあげるよそういうの結構憧れなんだ
But that almost sounds like you'd be my girlfriend. I was in shock. She was serious, at least, as near as I could tell from looking at her.
どうしてどうしてそこまでしてくれるの
それは
Because? This was leading where I thought it was, right? Her next words might be, because I like you, right? I couldn't understand what about me she could possibly like, though. No, wait. This was a Kome's trap, a clever trick to get me to let my guard down. It happened before, right? You had deceived me, and then betrayed me. I couldn't get my hopes up. I needed to imagine the worst case scenario. Rimi might be my enemy too.
石
She suddenly saluted me. I was caught off guard by her sudden action and worried that she might suddenly be about to reveal her horrible true nature. But I could still see the gentle smile on her face.
そんなの友達だからに決まってるでしょ私にしてみればタクを助けてあげるのは当然なのどうしてとか寂しいこと言わないわかった
Friends, huh? If she said because you're my boyfriend, it might have felt like a whole new life for me was about to begin. But even if it was just as friends, it made me so incredibly happy, having someone else to be nice to me. Having someone do something for me without expecting a reward. I didn't realize how happy that would make me. Maybe it was something I'd never experienced before. But more than that, it made me feel like I wasn't alone. Rimi was my salvation. The urge to throw up finally subsided, and I felt a lot better.
はい使う
She offered me a red handkerchief that smelled like flowers. I took it, but I was hesitant to use it.
汚しちゃっていいよ。タクにあげる。
ありがとう。
I felt guilty, but at this point, I decided to just take advantage of anything she'd offer me. I wiped away the barf from the edge of my mouth. This was the first time a girl who wasn't in my family had given me a present. I wasn't sure if you could call it a present though. But for somebody who was totally alone, like me, even something small like this was an incredible treasure. The joy and sense of relief, it made me feel like I was going to cry again.
それじゃあ、帰ろっか。
She smiled innocently.
一緒に。
What she just said about staying with me seemed, in her mind, to be a settled matter. I hadn't given an answer, but she didn't care. But of course, I didn't plan on saying no. I was afraid of being alone. I didn't want to be alone. Right now, Rimi was all I could rely on. But that didn't mean that everything would be fine from now on. I still chose a different route home than usual, and I kept looking over my shoulder the whole way. Danger seemed to lurk in every shadow. Each time I came to an intersection, I had the delusions of Yua and Shogun lurking around the corner and froze up, unable to go forward. Then Rimi would go ahead of me, looking down the street and turning back to give me a nod.
大丈夫。
Okay,
誰もいないよ。
alright, you're the scout. I gave a sigh of relief and followed her. Rimi stayed with me, not seemingly annoyed at all.
ねえ、聞いていいかな。一体、何があったの？
I wasn't sure whether I could tell Rimi. If I told her and Shogun came after her too, that would be my fault.
話したくないなら、無理に話さなくても。
いや、話すよ。
I started to speak. I was reluctant to get her involved, sure, but if I didn't explain what was going on, she wouldn't understand how desperate my situation was. I decided to ignore the risk to her for the sake of helping myself. Wow. I hope he talks about the crucified murder because, like, he needs to get that cleared up. And it's like, he's really not helping his mental state. She was the one who told me that she'd stay by my side, so it was okay, right? So I told her about Shogun, the one behind the New Gen murders. About a servant, Yua. That the two of them were after me. What happened in front of the 107. I kept tripping over my tongue, but I managed to get it all out. When I told her about Shogun, the man in the wheelchair, she frowned a little. That was the thing I wanted to ask her about the most. Now was a perfect chance to do it.
いたかな？車椅子のおじいさんなんて。
She didn't sound very confident.
思い出して。大切なことだ。
でも、
She paused, as if she was about to say something that was hard to say.
そもそも、あの時、渋谷の駅前が無人だったなんてことなかったよ。いつもと同じだった。
So she hadn't seen anything strange at all that night. I'd hoped that she'd tell me that she'd seen the same things I had. Rimi and I had seen different things. Which of us had seen what really happened? Was I just wrong? Was that empty Shibuya just a delusion of mine? But there was one problem then. That old man in the wheelchair in this empty Shibuya, Shogun. How could you explain him? If the empty Shibuya was just a delusion, then Shogun might be a delusion too.
駅前って人が多いでしょ？だから車椅子の人がいてもなかなか気がつかないだろうし。要するに見てないってこと。ごめんね、役に立てなくて。
Shogun wasn't a delusion of mine, I was sure about that. I thought he might be at first, but my opinion had changed totally after I'd seen the video of the group dive. The Shogun who had taken that video was real. That was proof that he existed. But the empty Shibuya could have been a delusion, maybe. Shibuya had been filled with people then. It just looked empty to me, that was all. But what did it mean?
ねえ、それよりお願いがあるんだけど、いい？
She put her hands together as if pleading with me.
CD を買いに行きたいんだ。せっかくここまで来てからちょっと寄っていきたいんだけど、いいかな？
We're gonna lose her, no! To be honest, I wanted to get back to the base as soon as possible. I'd only taken this longer route because I thought Shogun and Yua might be trying to set an ambush for me. I didn't want to go shopping. If I refused here, I might upset Rimi. She might even get mad and leave me here. That would be bad. I need her to stay with me. I didn't even think I could get back to the base on my own. Oh, new graphic with Seraton poster, yeah! MHV, whoops. In the end, I wasn't able to refuse. I followed behind her, fear increasing with each step I took. Hopefully, even Yua would be reluctant to attack me with this many people around. But I was more scared of the idea that Shogun and Yua could be lurking in the crowds than relieved by the thought of getting lost in them. Each time somebody came close to me, I felt myself screaming internally.
パトカーだ。
My body froze. I quickly hid behind Rimi. Oh. I am not sure what this is. Wait a second. The homeless guy in the middle of the screen, like between the two people at the edge, he seems like the homeless. I'm pretty sure he's the same one we've been seeing like for the majority of the series. The one that doesn't have like the red headband or like a helmet. Huh. She was right. There were 2 police cars stopped in the street. 3 uniformed officers were standing next to them. Oh man, oh that was so loud all of a sudden. The police were after me too. I hadn't actually done anything, but they were too stupid to understand that. I have no idea what they're saying. Were they looking for me, I wondered? But after a moment, I realized that they weren't. They were staring at the crowd that was marching down the street. A protest, maybe. They were all carrying signs and waving flags, and they even had sashes and headbands. There was a little girl in the rows of protesters, looking confused as she was being pulled along by her parents. On her shirt, the words, "Whose eyes are those?" were written with a black magic marker. I bit my lip when I saw it. I don't see that girl here. Oh well.
何のデモだろうね。
The crowd was full of men and women, and the people were all of all ages. As they marched, they'd sometimes yell out slogans. Drive the demons out of Shibuya!
悪魔
Some of the signs said things like, Drive the demons out of Shibuya, or Protect Shibuya from the terrorists. It was probably a protest over the New Gen murders. Protesting wasn't going to accomplish anything. If they had time to protest, they should just find and kill Shogun instead, then I wouldn't have to feel so scared all the time.
タク、行こう。
Rimi looked away from the protesters, seemingly disinterested, and began to walk towards the CD shop. Best Sound Top 10, yeah. Okay, this kind of looks like... I wonder if it's Toa Records. Once inside, she headed straight for the indie CD corner. Unlike the J-pop section, there weren't many people here. She stopped in front of the P shelf and began to look for a CD. Phantasm? But she quickly gave up. Yep, that's the only one I can think of. An indie band whose name started with a P. Could it be?
タクはファンタズムってバンドを知ってる？今話題になってるけど。
I should have guessed that's what she was after. Of course I knew about them. I'd gone to a concert and even owned a CD. I nodded and she chuckled.
私、そういう情報は結構疎くて、最近になって知ったんだ。それで、友達に借りようかと思ったんだけど、なかなか手に入らないらしくて、誰も持ってないんだよ。だから、CD 買うしかないかなーって思って、ここ1週間ぐらいあちこち探してみたんだけど、どこも売り切れ中。次はいつ入るんだろう。
僕、持ってる。
Rimi's eyes went wide.
持ってるって、CD?
I nodded, and then Rimi... put her hands on on my shoulder. Her face was so close, I almost flinched. The smell of her shampoo tickled my nostrils, and I could feel my face turning red.
ねえ、タク、取引しよう。
Let's make a trade. Trade?
その CD 貸してくれたら、見返りに私。
Her face was dead serious. I gulped. Oh, what? Oh man, I feel like that delusion could have gone like very awkward if he had a certain other delusion. She seemed to be lost in thought. Did she not actually have any ideas?
見返りなんていらない。
それって くれないっていうこと？
Rimi looks sad.
そっか。残念。
いや、違うよ。見返りなんて必要ないってこと。普通に貸すよ。
タク。ありがとう。
She gave me a brilliant smile. She looked so happy. I thought she might jump on me and give me a hug right there. Normally, girls were never happy about anything I did, so it made me happy too. I was glad I worked up the courage to say that she could borrow it.
美人。じゃあ、見返りなしで借ります。となれば善は急げ。タクの家にレッツゴー。
Oh, yes. He said the perfect words to make it so that they would just go home as soon as possible. I managed to get back to the base safely. Of course, it was thanks to Rimi, and I was grateful to her. I wish she hadn't refused me when I asked her for a little time to clean my room before she came in, though.
だって前に来た時に汚いっていうのはよーくわかったし、今さら片付けたって無駄だよ。かっこつけなくてもいいって私とタクの中でしょね。
Were we too close for that? My memories of Rimi were completely gone, so I didn't really know. Sometimes I was surprised at how overly friendly Rimi seemed. It didn't really bother me, but it was clear that there was a difference in how we felt about personal space. Was she really serious when she said that she didn't care if I cleaned up my room? There were discarded food containers from the convenience stores on the floor, and stacks of H-game boxes with XXX rated covers on the bed. Either Rimi was really brave, or she didn't see me as any kind of potential threat at all. I wasn't sure of how I felt about either option. Rimi didn't seem to have noticed my discomfort at all, though. She sat down on the sofa and was staring at the lyric booklet from the Phantasm CD. I sat down on my computer chair. At last, I could relax. Fear had worn me down today, but I didn't feel as tired as I thought I would. Probably because Rimi was here with me.
さて、どうしよっか。
She shut the lyric booklet and gave a big stretch as she smiled at me. What should we do? Don't ask me. Rimi hadn't come here to hang out. She hadn't come here to borrow a CD either. I was glad that she was staying here, but what exactly were we supposed to do? Do we have to do anything? If this was an H game, we'd go straight to an H scene, but... No, I shouldn't be thinking about stuff like that right now. Being alone in my room with a 3D girl was already a tense enough situation. If I started having delusions, I might end up saying something I regretted. Silence. Rimi was sitting there, staring at the manga on the floor and the H games on the bed. This was awkward. I felt like I should say something, but the only things I knew about were anime and video games. I couldn't imagine Rimi knew much about either of them. It was Rimi who offered to stay with me. Maybe she'd say something. If she was hoping for me to take the lead in the conversation, she was asking the wrong person. I really hated dealing with 3D girls. I appreciated her being with me, but this silent pressure was unbearable. Part of the problem was how dark the room was. It made the mood feel kind of erotic. I turned back to my PC, unable to bear the awkwardness anymore. There was something I had to look up. It was the idea I had back at school, the one that might give me a hint towards finding a D-sword. Is it possible to turn your thoughts in your head into a video? What Senna had told me before about VR technology and how humans run on electricity felt like it could be a good starting point.
何してるの？
Rimi stood up and walked over to me. Should I explain? But how to explain? It felt like it would be a big pain in the ass.
ねえねえ、何してるか教えてよ。
Since I didn't answer, Rimi started poking me in the back with her finger. I couldn't just ignore her, right?
君は妄想が現実になるって信じられる？
I kept typing search keywords on the browser instead of looking back at her. If anything, I was looking at Serotan as I spoke.
妄想が現実に？無理でしょう。もしそれができたら、人はとっくに万能になってるよ。
Anything they wanted, huh? That might be true. In your delusions, you can do anything, no matter how unreal. If those delusions could become real, then that would mean the unreal could become real too.
それがどうしたの？
Is that the power of Unreal Engine 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever number they're going to go up to in the future? I don't know.
それに近いシステムがアメリカで特許あるんだ。
へえ、冗談でしょ。
I wasn't looking at her, but I could sense her giving me a sigh of disbelief. I decided to show her the image of the patent that Shiho had found for me. I was like, who is Shiho again? That's why I had to pause. I was like, Alright, it was Grimm's friend.
特許の証拠写真。
本当に？
She leaned forward and stared at the monitor. Her head was now right next to mine.
私英語って苦手。すごいね、タク。英語読めるなんて。
She was so close. I wonder if anything of this is actually like real English or not. I could even see the sparkle in her eyes as the monitor's light reflected off of them. My heart skipped a beat again.
ねえねえ、どういうことか教えてよ。
She seemed to have taken an interest. I tried my best not to think about how close she was, moving my hands so that I could see both Seraton and the monitor at all times.
生まれながらに盲目の人でもビデオカメラみたいな映像機器を通すことでそこに映る景色が見えるようになるんだ。これ豆知識な。
I love how he was like, I gotta keep my eye on Seraton. She's the most important treasure in this entire room.
ビデオカメラが目の代わりっていうこと？
そう。VR 技術って言うんだよ。
へえ。もし本当だったらすごいな。
Sugoi. It is true. Senna had said that they even succeeded in testing it.
でも機械を使って目が見えるようになるのと妄想が現実になるってどうつながるの？私頭悪いからよくわかんないや。
As I explained my theory to Rimi, I kept typing keywords into the search engine, but nothing was coming up. I kept going anyway.
映像機器に映る景色も脳内で思い浮かべた妄想も電気信号だから。逆に考えるんだ。脳内に電気信号を送るんじゃなくて、脳内から電気信号を送るって考えるんだ。
ほほう。
Her response were dull, almost blank. Maybe she didn't understand at all. I was tired of explaining things to her, so I just stopped talking. I focused on my research. I didn't really need her to understand anyway. It was just an idea I come up with. Rimi was still nodding and murmuring even though I stopped talking. I decided to just ignore her. Yeah, I see. Yeah. Oh wait, you stopped. Yeah, I see. But no matter how much I searched, I couldn't find anything to back up my theory. I decided to change my approach and look at the patents instead of just web pages. I went to the English sites that Shiho had told me about and that had a list of patents. I'll look and see if anything could give me any hints. That's right, it's the Electric Wave Tower Humanity Data Processorship Pesponder Space Satellite. Oh! After following a bunch of links, I finally found something that's similar to what Shio had shown me before. It was a different patent document than the other one for the VR device. I decided to read it immediately.
神経信号パルスを遠隔地からモニターし、それを映像および音声として再現する装置と方法。
Whoa! It was just what I thought of. I leaned forward out of my chair.
これすごいぞ。
すごいの？何が？
簡単に言うとこれ。
It's a device.
他人の思考を盗撮する技術だ。
But I could already do that. Wait, what?
思考を盗撮。
In other words, you can use a special device to take a look at the images and sounds inside a person's head. And even said that you can monitor these nerve impulses from satellites. With this, you could read the mind of anybody on Earth.
本当にそんなことできるの？SF 小説とかそういう類のものなんじゃ？
特許ってそのシステム自体が完全に仕上がってないと絶対に取得できないんだって。
That's what I read when I looked at the patents online.
だからこれもちゃんとシステムが確立されてるってことだよ。
This wasn't fiction. If you had the money and technology powers to make the system, you could do it anytime you wanted. I remember what Senna had said.
ある意図的な情報を神経パルスへコンバートすることが可能なら、人の五感すべて、さらには人の意志そのものもコントロールできるんじゃないか。
I hadn't found any source to confirm or deny that, so it was just a guess. But the theory I'd come up with had a source. Why wasn't this incredible news anywhere to be found in Japan? It felt like you could win a Nobel for it easily. I decided to search for things involving mind reading. What I found was a record of an American court proceeding.
また英文だ。
Ugh, the universal language.
そうだよ。
It was pretty long, so I didn't feel like trying to read it all. I decided to use the translation software on it, even if it meant I might end up with something a little off. The basic idea was something like this. Legal proceedings. Plaintiff, N.K. Rabin defendant, United States Department of Defense, Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. Plaintiff's claims. My thoughts are being scanned by a special device, recorded and sent somewhere else via satellite. I am a hostage to the satellites. I'm exposed to attack by multiple satellites day and night. 1. Tracking. 2. Mind reading. 3. Observation of my entire body. 4. Biofrequency attacks. 5. Audio attacks. 6. Inducement of physical weakness. Beginning in late December 1990, I've been shown artificially created dreams, including audio, visual, and voice content, during my sleep. Between the months of February and May 1992, I was a victim of biofrequency attacks, pain, torture, and harassment. I recognized that these were attacks upon my person, and beginning in February 1992, I began to record the following notes: time, date, contents of particularly painful psychological attacks. These biofrequency attacks were performed upon every part of my body. The pain, torture, and harassment were finely tuned so that they would cause unpleasurable sensations, exhaustion, and pain into the parts, and sometimes all of my body. The major parts of my body were affected are as follows: chest, vision, abdomen, brain to cause sleep disorders, brain to cause me to have artificial dreams.
思考監視、思考盗撮、しかも国家ぐるみ。マジ？
私これ知ってる。何年か前に映画で見た。
That was just fiction, wasn't it? But these court proceedings are real. There are two possibilities. The plaintiff was just crazy, or it was all real. It was hard to tell which was true. After seeing the patent, it was probably real, but still. But Senna and Ayase weren't crazy, especially Ayase. Down that tunnel, I'd seen her split into two. I hadn't seen the moment it had happened, but when I turned around, there was another Ayase. I had seen her pull the D-sword out of nowhere too. That wasn't a hallucination or a delusion. After seeing that, I couldn't call her crazy. But there was also what she said. This is the will of Steins Gate. This is also your delusion. So strange. So that strange thing I'd witnessed, that happened because I had seen it in my delusions? I kind of wonder where Ayase and Aoi Senna and even Orihara Kozue got their D swords, because the three of them all had the D swords that we have seen so far, and you could say that Takumi and Rimi had it in the future or whatever in the prologue, but I have no idea when that takes place, so I'm not going to comment on that. I wonder where these three learned to use their D swords, or if it just appeared and they're an expert on it now because they can use it. Was that what Ayase had meant by power? The power to project illusions into reality, and it was possible that I had it? Okay, I wonder what decision could have been made here. I'm still wondering. I'm making a big assumption that these moments are moments where you can make decisions. It just makes sense to me. And I think those decisions are going to be a good or bad delusion, maybe? I'm not sure. No. I was jumping to conclusions. Maybe there was a system that could use science to turn delusions into video footage, but that didn't mean that psychic powers were real.
見つけなくちゃいけん。自分自身
You must find it by yourself.
方法なんて私にもわからない。
But if maybe the way to get a D sword involves some kind of psychic power. If I had that power, it might be worth trying. I went and picked up the toy D sword in the corner of the room. I stood in the middle of the room and held it out in front of me in the best approximation of an ESO character that I could do. Okay, time to envision a sword. Rimi was looking at me. Our eyes met. She was grinning. I could feel my face getting warm. I picked up the sword and posed with it, forgetting that there was someone else in the room with me. In Rimi's eyes, I must look like a total weirdo. Maybe. Crap! I put down the sword. I was too embarrassed to look at her. I want to be anywhere in the world but where I was standing right now. Or maybe I could just get her to pretend that she'd never seen it. I was willing to beg if I had to, but Rimi decided to just make things worse. Keep going, yeah.
チャンバラごっこ
I shook my head.
いつもそういうことしてるの
Again, I shook my head.
今日が初めて
I nodded fiercely.
チャンバラごっこの相手役私がしようかよくわからないけど
I shook my head back and forth violently. No. I just told her that it wasn't pretend fighting.
ねえたくどうしてこっち見てくれないのかな
Because I'm embarrassed, obviously. She'd seen something I really didn't want her to see. This must be what it felt like when a girlfriend found her boyfriend's porn.
たくってさ
Was she disgusted by me? This was the worst. I had to find some way to help her realize that this was just a misunderstanding.
かわいいねかなりキュンときちゃったな今のは
Worst she can say is no. She picked up the Seraton body pillow that was next to my computer chair and was hugging it tightly. I thought she was making fun of me, but from the way she was acting, she was serious. Did that mean that Rimi had found me moe for a second? I was relieved. She hadn't started hating me. Good.
そもそもそれどこで買ってきたの高かったんじゃない
1万円渋谷の雑貨屋で。
へえ1万円か安いのか高いのかわからないけどでもそんな大きなおもちゃが普通に売ってるんだね私そんな大きなのを直接見たのって初めてその雑貨屋さんに売ってるっていうのは誰かに教えてもらったの
She was really interested in this. Was she interested in swords like these? Maybe she was secretly an otaku herself. She kinda made fun of me while I was holding it, but maybe she would actually want one of her own. Wow, that's totally tsundere, lol.
自分で調べた。ネットで。
ネットかすごいな何でも情報が手に入るんだね私は全然ダメパソコンなんてろくに使えないよでその件って流行ってるの
You don't know how to use a computer? This is supposed to be 2007-ish, I believe. It's kind of ridiculous.
なんで
タクはどうしてそれを買おうと思ったのかなって
Should I tell her the truth? If she was going to stay with me, she might end up looking for the real D sword with me too. Maybe I should tell her.
これは偽物だけど本物があるんだ
本物
Like a Japanese katana? No, that's not what I meant. Rimi seemed a little confused.
本物を持ってる人を僕知ってるんだ2人いる同じ学校の女子
女子ね
Girls.
女の子がこんなおもちゃを欲しがるかな
本当なんだそれにおもちゃじゃない
あごめん
本物は光るんだそれにすごい存在感で僕それを探してる それさえ手に入れれば僕は救われるんだ。
So you want a lightsaber? No!
救われるって。
Rimi looked surprised by what I was saying, but I was totally serious. Having a D-sword would give me a way to fight back against Shogun.
それで鉄
I want you to help me find it, is what I wanted to say. But the thought of her saying no made me so scared that I couldn't ask. I threw the fake sword down on the ground and sat on the sofa. Then I sighed and closed my eyes. Maybe Rimi would volunteer to help me find it? That'd make things so much easier. Maybe that was too much to hope for. But Rimi had appeared out of nowhere to help me before when I needed her the most. So maybe...
とにかく、もし本物があったとしても、それこそ買ったりしちゃダメだよ。今タクが持ってるのはおもちゃだからいいけど、本物ってことは銃刀法違反になっちゃうんだから。
Like I said, I wasn't looking for a katana, no! My hopes were mercilessly dashed. Rimi, I'm disappointed in you. Well, her reaction was one most people would have. The only reason I felt differently was because after all the weird things that happened over the past few weeks, I believe what Senna and Ayase said. I just have to find the D-sword myself.
それでタク、
I could feel Rimi sitting down beside me.
その本物の剣を持ってる女子って誰かな？
Her voice was coming right next to me. She was sitting right beside me. We were alone in a dark room, just the two of us, and she was sitting right next to me. Emergency! We have an emergency here!
タクに女子の知り合いが私以外にいたなんてちょっとびっくり。もしかして彼女？
Did she have to ask that? Was she trying to tempt me, maybe? Why was she talking about girlfriends? Was she maybe going to tell me that she wanted to be my girlfriend and then there would be a romantic mood between us and then... No, I wasn't ready for that. I opened my eyes and shook my head. Both Ayase and Senna were very... mysterious. Also a little crazy, probably. If they were 2D characters, they'd be really moe, but not in 3D. Especially Senna. Just talking to her terrified me. She felt like she could beat me up at any moment. I didn't want to get involved with her at all, if I could avoid it.
そっか。ちょっと安心したかな。
え？
Uh-oh. What did she just say? Oh crap, my body froze. This was leading where I thought it was, right? She meant what I thought she meant, right? She was trying to get me to say something here, right? What was I supposed to say? Was I supposed to give her the answer she wanted to hear? I mean, I liked the idea, but I didn't know if I was up for dating a 3D girl. I glanced over at Rimi, unsure of what to say. Okay, so the room is a lot lighter than I imagined here. Okay, she's sitting next to him and he's just in full panic mode. Wait, you can't just sit like that. It's not fair. The way she was sitting with her legs up in that short skirt. Miss Sakihara, I think I can almost see your panties. Actually, depending on the angle, it almost looked like she wasn't wearing anything at all. My eyes kept going towards the triangle at the base of her thighs, her V-zone. I would try desperately not to give in to the temptation. The way she was sitting. It reminded me of the cover of a famous H game. It was called Thrown Away Sister, and it was famous enough to get an anime. Its first edition package had the heroine sitting just like Rimi was now. The illustration was so moe. I'd even used it as my PC wallpaper for a while.
ねえ、タク。
Eyes up here.
はい。
Crap! I let my panic show in my voice. But you can't blame me, right? There was a 3D girl right next to me, looking up at me questioningly. It was so cute. I'm gonna die of moe. She's not even 2D. But even though my libido was roaring at full power, Rimi's next words were...
タクは自分の未来を考えたことある？
Oh no, serious talk.
例えば、人を含めて全ての生き物は生きてるだけで何かを傷つけてるんだよ。
There was sorrow in her voice. What was she trying to say?
わかる？
No, I don't.
だから、
だからね。無理しないでいいからね。
Did she mean that I didn't have to force myself to go to school? Or that I shouldn't force myself to spend hours grinding in ESO and instead to lead a healthier lifestyle? Or maybe that I shouldn't force myself to stay in control, and if I want to take her right here, I could? Nah, that last one was impossible. She stretched expansively and then jumped to her feet. The hem of her skirt was waving right in front of me.
私、喉乾いてきちゃった。何か飲み物ある？
Only soda. I stood up and headed towards where the fridge was. I looked down into the fridge. I had a thing of soda, but I already drank from it. Giving it to her would be weird.
ないなら買ってこようかな。コンビニって深センの駅前にあったよね。
I could sense Rimi standing up behind me.
ちょっと行ってくる。
Oh, okay. I thought like maybe if she comes back, hears a knock, and he's like, "Oh, welcome back, Rimi," but it's just someone else. She smiled and left the room without waiting for my answer. Whew, being alone with a girl was exhausting. And Rimi, I didn't know if she realized it or not. Probably not, but the way she acted sometimes was bad for my heart.
くんかくんか。
I sniffed the area around the room. It smelled like flowers, at least it seemed like it did. This was what a girl smelled like. This was Rimi's scent. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in.
最低だ。
Yes, you are. I sunk into my chair, disgusted at myself. I was supposed to be sitting here, terrified of Shogun and Yua, and now I was all excited. I decided to do some more research on mind reading while Rimi was out on her run to the store. I turned towards the PC and noticed that Grim was in the chat room, calling for me. Okay, let's see what it says. You there, Nightheart? Hey, Nightheart! I know you haven't left your house today. Want to chat for a while? I got some new info. Nightheart, come downstairs. It's dinner time! I sighed and entered the chat room. You're finally here. You took way too long, Nightheart. My mind's been going, whose eyes are those this whole time thanks to you? Ugh, damn it. What does that even mean to go, whose eyes are those? You just want to say that. Every time I see those words, it scares me. What's your new info? New gen stuff, of course. It happened. The 5th murder. Again? I felt the same dark terror I've always felt, but I also felt confused. I had felt for sure that Shogun and you were going to come after me next, but instead, they gone after someone else. Of course, it was hard to say if I should be happy or not, but... Want to know more? It's on the top page of Taboo News. You'll find it easily if you look. When today did it happen? Oh, okay. They found the body last night. But the victim died the day before. This is another crazy one. You see, they took out the guy's brain. Hang on! I panicked as Grim started to give me the details without any warning. I already heard and seen enough disgusting stuff. I didn't even want to hear about it. If I did, I might end up imagining it happening to me too. I didn't even have my D-sword yet either. But Grim continued oblivious. And here's where it gets really scary. How do you think they died? Malnutrition. They survived losing the brain. My body shook with fear. I pulled my knees close to me and wrapped my arms around them. I didn't want to hear anymore. Just please, leave me alone. My HP was already at 0. They were like in some kind of state of brain death. They might have been stuck like that for over a week. With no brain, they can't eat, can't drink, so their body just rotted away from malnutrition. Acha already named it brain dead, they're calling it, lol. These guys picked up the best names, and here's the funny part. This guy was a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist losing his brain. Talk about ironic. A psychiatrist? Looking at the words made my heart race. Oh, so we only know of one psychiatrist that had, an image or like a portrait, and that was a doctor that he trusted. There was also his assistant, but his assistant was in work, like, Yeah, they said that the doctor he trusted was gone for a few days because he suddenly got sick, but maybe they were just kidnapped for the murder. Looking at the words made my heart race. Maybe I was overthinking things, but I didn't want to know. But part of me felt like I had to. I hesitated for a long time, but I finally clicked the link about the brain dead story at the top of the taboo news. Oh. Body of a man found in Shibuya, 5th new gen case. Fumio Takashina. Yeah, that was the name. A psychiatrist at H Tokyo General Hospital was found collapsed on a Shibuya street early in the morning of the 23rd. People have stated that he died from malnutrition. Mr. Takashina's skull had been cleanly cut open and the brain removed. The police stated that there was a possibility that the body had remained alive after the brain removal in a state similar to brain death. Investigations revealed that Takashina had been absent from work starting from the 10th of this month. Okay, he's been gone from the 10th, and right now. The body was discovered on the morning of the 23rd, so it was about 2 weeks. Whew. Shibuya had been the subject of national attention since the last month, when a series of bizarre murders called the New Generation Madness began. The police are treating this murder as potentially related. The victim's name was Fumio Takashina. It was Dr. Takashina. Dr. Takashina had been killed. They were taunting me. Shogun was clearly taunting me. He killed Dr. Takashina, the man I was counting on to help me, just to scare me more.
そんな。助けて、誰か助けてくれ!
I screamed. My head felt like it was tearing itself apart. I was going crazy.
やだ死にたくないよ死にたくないリミ助けて
I looked around the room for Rimi. I kept looking around and kept looking and looking. She wasn't here. Why wasn't she here? She left to go to the store. I fell to the ground, head in my hands.
僕を助けてリミ助けてよ
Oh,
どこにも行かないで
he's completely reliant on her now. Oh no, this might be a bad sign. There was an answer. I gasped and looked up, and Rimi was standing right next to me, holding a bag from the store.
リミ
She was back. Relieved, I stretched out a hand. Rimi crouched down and took it with both hands. The last time I touched them, Rimi's hands were cold. But now they were so warm.
ここにいる。私は、ここにいるから。
I'm kind of confused as to why she's so nice to Takumi, to be
怯えない
honest.
で。
Rimi smiled gently at me and wiped my tears away with her fingers. I was really pathetic. Crying, screaming, being afraid like this in front of a girl. But Rimi said that she'd be with me anyway. Right now, the only thing keeping my mind from shattering was this warmth. I didn't want to let go of this hand, not until I had the D-sword. Ah. Okay, that was the end of that scene. That was... Oh god, I kind of hope they don't show that scene. That would be really graphic. Oh man, the 5th murder. I wonder how many murders are going to be in this new gen murder thing. Because since the beginning of this series, we've seen 3. So we've seen the Crucified, we've seen the Vampire, and now the Brain Dead. The other 2 happened off screen or before the event of this game. But like... It just seems like it keeps going and going. When is it going to stop? And this time it was someone close. I won't say close to Takumi, but you know, someone relevant to Takumi. The others were not really relevant. But yikes! I don't really know what to say. This is definitely a Rimi-based episode, though. There was a lot of Rimi in it. I thought we were gonna get more about D-swords or whatnot, but instead we got more new gen, and not more information, but just more events that happen in the series of new gen murders. Oh, we're probably gonna get into the police POV. I'm not exactly sure if it's now or something else, or you know, a different scene. But yeah, we'll see where this goes next time. Until then, I will be seeing you. See ya.